Despite 2 court orders in 2020 and 24 banning dicamba use because of its damage to neighboring farms, causing millions of acres of crop loss, the Trump EPA, headed by a former industry lobbyist, recently proposed to reauthorize the herbicide. What impact would it have on your rural community and the farmers that you serve if EPA again approves dicamba for over-the-top use?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question, Senator Booker. I frankly believe, we've seen enough issues that I think the technology is good and is needed because we need to be able to fight against weed resistance, but yet over-the-top causes so many issues that I don't think that it should be approved for over-the-top use.
That's great. And because if it was, what would happen to the communities if it was, again, approved for over-the-top use?
Unfortunately, we've seen volatilization, we've seen drift into other crops and vineyards and different things. So it's become an issue in rural areas.
So knowing what you know, what you just stated about how harmful it is and would be as a practical manner, if it's once again approved, would your seed company have any discretion in whether or not to sell dicamba-tolerant seeds?
Unfortunately, probably with the rebates, we would probably have to sell it to be able to make our rebates, unfortunately.
That seems stunning to me, that something that should not be used in this way, but just to stay competitive in the market, you would have to sell it. Does that strike you as indicative of free market capitalism?
It does not, and I don't like it either. I think we should be able to sell what our customers want and the best value for them.
Yeah. And it really strikes me as not just an assault on free market capitalism, but something almost akin to a authoritarian system where you're told what you have to do, what you have to plant, what chemicals you have to use. And that's something that is very un-American to me. Would you agree?
I agree.
Dr. Moss, I'm going to soon be introducing legislation to not only not only place a moratorium on any new big ag mergers, but also require the DOJ to do a look back at the biggest mergers over the last 20 years in the food and agricultural sectors to unwind any mergers that the DOJ finds caused material harm to competition or to farmers or to workers or consumers. Dr. Moss, do you think that this type of look back would be beneficial? And if it was conducted, do you expect that many of the previously approved mergers would be found to have caused material harm?
Thank you, Senator Booker, for that really good question. Yes, I think the value of retrospective studies for consummated mergers is really critical and invaluable. We in the economics community have agitated and urged and encouraged enforcers to spend more time doing look-backs. Of course, they're resource intensive, and I know there is a number of pieces of legislation that would fund those types of efforts. I think at the stage we are at in food and ag with high levels of concentration and demonstrable evidence of high prices and slower innovation, the look-backs would be really important. Ultimately, it's really up to the agencies to enforce a very strong structural presumption against highly concentrative mergers. Unfortunately, we're still not there. And in the Dow-DuPont and the Bayer-Monsanto mergers, those structural presumptions for high concentration did not get a lot of attention, and now we're paying the price for that.
We consumers are paying the price for it, but our farmers are paying a tremendous price as this concentration of these very powerful companies who now, frankly, thanks to Citizens United, pour millions and millions of dollars advocating for their mergers down here in Washington. But the real people being harmed are consumers, but frankly, are our farmers themselves. And that brings up my a final question, and I'm hoping, Noah, I really appreciated your testimony. But given the extreme consolidation within America's agricultural industry, do you have any flexibility to purchase seeds or fertilizers from firms other than the Big Four?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Booker. We have retail locations that serve the needs for the fertilizer. We don't have the on-farm storage to handle some of those products. It's unclear often who the wholesaler manufacturer is for that product, but you can tell when you go from retail to retail to retail and the price is the same, that we're coming from the same place.
Thank you. As the chairman knows, I spent a lot of time in Iowa and met a lot of farmers from across the political spectrum. This gentleman here moved me when he said 5 generations on his farm, and I still remember sitting with farmers who still had that original deed going back to the 1800s, and the pride of every generation being able to not just make a living, but raise their families and strengthen their communities and provide for American hunger and demand. And suddenly the economics that worked for 5 generations just barely add up. There's a nobility, sir, about what you do for America. You are great patriots, and I'm really hoping to work with and I know how much you care about American farmers, sir, so I'm really hoping we can find some bipartisan work to do together and keep people like Noah and his family at the center of our thought process, because we can do something. This is not inevitable. This is un-American. This is a perversion of the free market. If we give them a chance to compete, I promise you that family will have another 5 generations of success on their farm.
Senator Cory Booker's remarks during the hearing cut straight to the heart of what many farmers have been feeling for years, that corporate power in agriculture has grown too large and too unchecked. He began by questioning why the Environmental Protection Agency was moving to reauthorize the use of dicamba, a herbicide previously banned by 2 court rulings because of the severe damage it caused to neighboring farms. Farmers across rural America have seen millions of acres of crops destroyed by chemical drift and volatilization, and Booker pressed witness Mr. Lom on what would happen if the EPA approved its use again. Mr. Lom admitted the issue was complicated. While dicamba technology can help fight weed resistance, the over-the-top application method, spraying the herbicide directly on crops, has caused widespread damage. He said approving it again would only bring more problems to rural communities. But even with these concerns, his seed company would likely be forced to sell dicamba-tolerant seeds to remain competitive because of rebate programs tied to their sale. Booker found that answer troubling. He said it showed how distorted the agricultural market had become, where small companies and farmers have no real freedom to choose what they sell or plant. He argued that this situation wasn't free market capitalism at all, but something closer to an authoritarian system where corporations dictate what products farmers must use to survive. Turning to Dr. Moss, Booker spoke about a new piece of legislation he plans to introduce. The bill would not only stop new major agricultural mergers, but also direct the Department of Justice to review large mergers from the past 2 decades. If those mergers are found to have hurt competition, farmers, or consumers, the DOJ would be able to unwind them. Dr. Moss strongly agreed, explaining that retrospective merger reviews are crucial for understanding how consolidation affects markets. He said previous mergers, including Dow-DuPont and Bayer-Monsanto, concentrated too much power, raised prices, and slowed innovation, leaving both consumers and farmers paying the price. Booker pointed out that these corporations now use their wealth, amplified by decisions like Citizens United, to pour millions into lobbying for their own interests in Washington. The people who suffer, he said, are the very ones who feed the nation, American farmers and working families. Another farmer, Noah, testified that when it comes to fertilizer and seeds, there's almost no real choice left. Retail stores in different regions all sell the same products at the same prices, suggesting they come from the same few suppliers. Booker used this as evidence that the agricultural industry is dangerously consolidated, leaving farmers trapped between rising costs and shrinking margins. He ended on a personal and emotional note, recalling conversations with farmers in Iowa, some who had kept their land for 5 generations, proudly holding the original deeds from the 1800s. He spoke of their deep sense of duty, their pride in feeding America, and their fear that the math no longer adds up. Booker called it a perversion of the free market, saying that if the government gave family farms a fair chance to compete, they could thrive for another 5 generations. His message was clear: protecting American farmers is not a partisan issue, it's a moral one.